can you want to lose weight and love yourself just the way you are? I wrote this article for women who both want to lose weight and want to love themselves well in the process. So if you're someone who avoids mirrors and you hate your body the way it is, you feel disgusted by yourself, and you know that that's not making you feel good, you know it's not the way to reach your goal, all of that negativity, and yet you don't know how to feel better about yourself even while working towards weight loss, this is the article for you. Because right now in popular culture, there are two main camps out there in thinking. The first being the everyone needs to have a normal BMI camp, and these are people who believe that any pound over a normal BMI, if you don't have a flat belly, then you're just a magnet for preventable diseases. You're not doing everything you can for your health. And also something must be wrong with you if you don't have the self-control that you need to stay within that normal BMI range. This group also is really quick to prescribe weight loss for any sort of ache or pain, and maybe to the exclusion of other things that could help, like physical therapy or orthotics or whatever, right? Like there's often other answers to aches and pains besides weight loss. But in this camp, the everyone needs to have a normal BMI camp, there's a lot of focus on weight. And this camp oftentimes is going to really put people on a pedestal who lose weight and fit in with the cultural, ideal beauty or ideal norm for body size. And they don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with not liking what you see in the mirror or not liking yourself or not feeling confident. And they often believe and tout, these kind of gurus in this space, that if you lose weight, then lo and behold, you're going to feel confident, you're going to feel amazing. Okay, so that's one camp. The other camp is the you're fine just the way you are camp. And this camp tends to say that your weight and what you eat don't matter at all. That attempting to lose weight is always harmful across the board, and optimal health shouldn't really, trying to achieve optimal health maybe either shouldn't be a focus or you shouldn't focus so much on weight to get there. They want you to work towards acceptance of yourself and your body rather than changing your body. So it's important to understand the messages that you're getting, because by analyzing the good and the bad of each of these, I want to help you find a philosophy of self-care that is motivating, that is actionable, and results in you being able to love yourself better and really have the life that you want, feel good about yourself, about your life, your choices, and understand who you as a person are and what you want for yourself. Who am I? I'm Cassie Christopher. I'm a registered dietitian and postmenopausal weight loss expert, and I help women heal emotional eating as a path towards loving themselves better. That's really my mission, to help women in their 60s on up to love themselves better. And you might be wondering, I have to speak to the elephant in the room. This gal is not 60, and that's true, but I have to tell you, my favorite clients are in these golden years, and so I just decided to devote my entire professional career towards working with women like you. So let's get into what the two camps believe so that you can find what's helpful for you to decide if you can want to lose weight and love yourself just the way you are. So let's talk about the pros for the everyone needs a normal BMI. Now here is where we have to start off by recognizing that both of these camps kind of throw mud on each other all the time, right? And you can find controversial essays and writings on the internet if that's your thing. But recognizing that one of the arguments against the everyone has a normal BMI is that there are individual studies that show that lower BMI is related to a greater outcome. And I should back up here and explain to you that BMI stands for body mass index, and it is the usual way that someone's height and weight is put into a formula and shown whether they have a normal, underweight, overweight, obese, or obese BMI. BMI. And those various levels on the BMI scale are related to health outcomes. And so research suggests that when you have an overweight or obese BMI, that you may have worsened health outcomes, a greater risk of certain diseases. And so, as I was saying, the other side will often say, yes, but these studies are showing a correlation, not causation. And so correlation meaning that people who have BMIs larger BMIs also tend to get these diseases. That doesn't actually show that one causes the other. And that's true, right? That is true. And yet with BMI studies, we see hundreds of thousands of people being studied, lots of years of research on this, and it seems that the overwhelming evidence points to having a larger BMI may be worse for health outcomes. And yet, even losing a modest amount of weight may reduce your risk of some chronic diseases. So, for example, in the Diabetes Prevention Program study, which was a large study done over many years with lots of people, a weight loss of 5 to 10% of starting weight made participants less likely to develop type 2 diabetes. So this is kind of I'm getting into a con for this side, because it may not be that you have to go back to having a normal BMI in order to reduce disease risk, have this optimal health. It may be that even a more moderate or minimal amount of weight loss may be beneficial for you. And certainly that smaller amount of weight loss tends to be easier to sustain because you don't get the same metabolism slowness. Another big one, another reason why many women want to lose weight as they get into their 60s and 70s is to reduce pain. And the Arthritis Foundation has put together, and I have a link in the article, a great report of all of the different reasons or ways that weight loss may help with arthritis pain in particular. And they report for every 1 pound of weight loss, you can reduce 4 pounds of pressure from your knees if you have osteoarthritis. Now, that may significantly reduce pain. So the takeaway here is that losing weight may reduce your pain, may reduce your disease risk. And also, you don't necessarily have to get back to a normal BMI in order to have some of these benefits. So what are some of the cons for everyone has to have a normal BMI? As I've already mentioned, the worship of this number really seems to be unfounded. I don't even mention it in the article, but for people who have more athletic builds or, broader body types, like those of us who are big boned, right? Like your BMI may not be a good reflection of the harmful, fatty tissue on your body. So, and then also you don't necessarily have to be in that normal category to get some health benefits. Secondly, the thing that goes really wrong with a lot of people in the weight loss industry and diet culture in general, and really just, I think culture in general, even when other people are talking about weight, is this belief that a normal BMI or getting a normal BMI is entirely in someone's control. That people who live in larger bodies are lazy and they're just not trying hard enough. And people tend to come to me, women come to me and they say, I just want more self-control. I just want more willpower. But the truth is self-control and willpower are really not the answers to figuring out how to eat well. It's better, and I'm skipping ahead to the tips at the end, but it works so much better, and I work with women to solve emotional eating when we get to the root cause of why are you feeling out of control? Why do you feel like you need so much willpower? Like, let's reduce the cravings. Let's reduce your reliance on food for emotional reasons, and then you won't need any willpower or self-control. And also, this cultural obsession with size has actually turned into a stigma. And this is called weight stigma, the discrimination and mistreatment of people in larger bodies. And the weight stigma alone can cause anxiety and depression in people who are living with larger bodies. It's a big problem. It's this belief that you have more worth and value if you are someone in a smaller body, and if you're in a bigger body, well, there must be something wrong with you. And the truth is, that's not true. There are genetic components. There are, underlying reasons for all of these things. The fact that you may not have a safe neighborhood to walk in, or you have a desk job, right? And it's not to say that if you live in a larger body that you're a victim and there's nothing you can do about it if you do want to change for some of the reasons I mentioned earlier. But we can't just blame people in larger bodies. That's not okay, and it doesn't work. Because weight stigma can lead to feeling ashamed, unworthy of connection with other people because of your body size. And when you get to that place, then that's when you can't look in a mirror without feeling disgusted with yourself, because looking in a mirror is triggering for that shame. If that's you, I want you to know that there's help. This is something that I help women address every day around emotional eating. Feel free to reach out with me if you're needing some support with that. And I do have a link as well in the guide to get some help if you're struggling with sugar cravings, get to the root cause of why you're having those sugar cravings. You can grab my free guide, What to Eat to Curb Cravings. Back to you're fine just the way you are. So that second camp, and the pros of this are, wow, wow, wow. The mental image that comes to me with this is flowers growing out of a garden. The idea of nourishing your inner self, focusing on self-acceptance, it can decrease stress. It can make you feel more alive, less anxiety. And this is important because stress hormones can actually lead to overeating and weight gain. So a decrease in stress can help on that path to having a weight that your body feels good at. And frameworks that center self-acceptance rather than weight loss, things like intuitive eating, health at every size, have been shown to decrease risk of eating disorders, anxiety, they improve body image. So there's a lot of good here to this focus. And yet there are some cons too, right? The idea that intentional weight loss is always harmful to me, and again, this is my bias, I help people lose weight, so you have to remember that. Someone who works in eating disorders or has had an eating disorder themselves may have a different perspective, and their perspective may be more helpful for you. But the idea that intentional weight loss is always harmful is an overgeneralization. So weight loss is unhelpful when you do end up believing that you're going to be more worthy of love and carry a lot of shame, or if you look in the mirror and you're going to like yourself finally if you lose weight. These are deeper heart issues that take more than physical change to truly heal. Because even if you believe that losing weight will make you feel better, and many women have had this experience that they lost weight and they like themselves better, well, then there's this terrible, terrible fear of weight regain. And no one wants to regain weight. I totally get that. Like, I'm not a pie in the sky person here. I understand that it can make you feel better. And yet when you base your worth on your size, you can have a crippling anxiety of weight regain. And so it takes some heart work to really even be able to maintain loss, because oftentimes that crippling anxiety, now you've got more stress hormones, now you may be reaching for food to calm that anxiety and that stress, and it can be a vicious cycle. And so the question I pose in the article, and I would ask to you if you're listening, is this: what if you held weight loss with an open hand? What if you were curious about what might be possible for your body if you optimized your metabolism, healed your relationship with food, so it's truly easy to make healthy choices? And what if you began listening and responding to what your body was asking of you? What would that be like? Weight loss can reduce painful inflammation. It can improve certain blood labs and reduce disease risk. And so we really can't fault women for wanting these benefits, wanting to lose weight, and also wanting to love themselves without having to get smaller. So here's the middle ground I'll share with you that I've found between these two extremes. And this is the middle ground that I use in my program, The Stressless Weight Mastery, where I help women learn specific self-care strategies so that they can heal emotional eating, feel amazing in their bodies, lose weight if that's their goal, and then know that they're going to be able to maintain it for the rest of their lives. So the first is to examine your motive for weight loss and see, is it coming from a place of self-love and self-care, like like wanting less pain, or from a place of unworthiness and self-hatred. And I want to say this, if you're avoiding looking in the mirror, unfortunately, that's normal. I want to validate that that's okay that you feel that way. And yet, while you're working on weight loss, while you're working on, simultaneously loving yourself better, you can also work on self-acceptance so that you can like what you see and also work towards feeling better in your body. So if you do decide to pursue weight loss, my advice to you is to focus on behaviors you have control over, because you really don't have control on the number on your scale. Anyone who's ever been to a tasty Mexican restaurant knows that if you step on the scale the next day, all of the salt is going to show you gained like 3 to 5 pounds. And so when that is dictating how good you feel about yourself or how bad you feel about yourself, you're going to end up in these shame spirals. You're going to end up using food to comfort those emotions, right? Like it's very counterproductive. So my recommendation to you is instead to focus on the behaviors that you have control over. I recommend women eat half a plate of vegetables as much as possible, because then it doesn't matter so much what you eat on the other side of the plate. Focus on how many times you've got out to walk. If you need help with sugar, again, you can check out point number 2 in the article and grab my free guide, What to Eat to Curb Cravings. And then thirdly, practice self-acceptance. So in this, what I mean by self-acceptance is you don't have to pretend that you love everything about yourself, but working towards self-respect, respecting your body instead of talking bad about it in your brain or to other people. Finding pieces of yourself that you enjoy and admire, like, I like my smile. I like my eyes, right? And if that feels like a stretch, work towards neutrality. Focus on gratitude for what your body has done. Our bodies are amazing. They've carried children. They've, kept you moving on amazing vacations through adorable European villages, right? They've helped you climb mountains in the past. Or maybe today you're just grateful that your body helps you get up and go to the bathroom however many times a day, you're walking that way. We can be grateful for the little things. And then lastly, in this search to love yourself better, accept yourself while also losing weight, I want to normalize that it's a journey. You're never going to get to, the after. You're always going to be walking on this journey. And on the journey, there are going to be barriers that come up. And so I recommend when you get to a barrier, rather than going, every time after dinner, I end up, doing XYZ. I don't have any control. I'm lazy, what's wrong with me? Instead of going into that self-critical mindset, I recommend that you stop and get curious. And non-judgmentally, self-compassionate curiosity can help you get to the root of the issue. So if you find that you're overeating, I have a lot of links under number 4 for you in the article to help you determine what's going on. Consider if emotions may be driving your eating habits. If sugar is a problem for you, if you're stressed or you have low motivation, get to the root of it. And again, in the article, I have links to specific blog posts that you can click on that will help you get to the root of those issues. So the last thing to note about getting to the root is that restrictive diets are rarely the solution. So just know that, and I talk more about why that may be in some of those posts. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a newfound understanding of, can you want to lose weight and love yourself just the way you are? Perhaps you are starting to develop a philosophy that works within your life experiences and perspectives around caring for yourself in this issue. And I want to hear from you. Are you in the everyone needs to have a normal BMI camp? Or are you in the you're just fine the way you are camp? Or are you like me, looking for a middle ground and trying to figure out how to live that out in your life so that you can feel good in your body, optimize your health, and meet your goals and live your best life? So thanks for joining me. It was so nice to talk to you today. Bye-bye.